You ever wake up one morning and realize the world you built brick by brick, sweat by sweat, memory by memory, just got swallowed whole by people who think a deed is whatever fits in a folder? That's how this all started for me. Picture this: 28 shiny new houses stacked like Monopoly pieces on the one place I ever truly called home. My private island, the place where my late wife's ashes still rest under the old willow tree. The same willow she picked out for her garden the day we bought that muddy patch of nothing back in '83. And you know what the HOA president said to me when I showed up with my jaw on the ground? He looked me right in the eye, waved a pile of fake permits, and said I ought to be grateful they were improving my view. Yeah, that happened. But the thing is, I wanted them to finish. I wanted every single one of those houses built right to the last nail, because that was the only way they'd hang themselves and I'd get my justice. You watching this from somewhere with a story like mine? Drop it below, because trust me, this kind of revenge, it's cold, slow, and absolutely devastating. Absolutely. Let me back up a sec, just so you see where I'm coming from. For 40 years, the only sounds I heard on that lake were the bullfrogs and the wind in the pines. My wife Ellen, she called it the quietest place on earth. It was ours Haven Island. Just a mess of swampy land until we rolled up our sleeves and drained it, cleared it, built a little cabin with our own hands. When Ellen passed, I kept the place because it was the only spot I could still feel her close. Her ashes were buried under that willow down by the shore, her garden, her dream. So the morning those hammers started up across the water, it felt like a punch in the gut. I stepped onto the porch with my coffee sun just burning off the fog, and all I could see was a bulldozer digging through my memories, men in hard hats driving stakes through the deer trail Ellen used to walk. My first thought wasn't anger. Not really, it was just confusion. This had to be some dumb, expensive mistake. Nobody's that bold, right? I rowed across my old aluminum fishing boat, wheezing along because I never got around to fixing the motor last spring. The closer I got, the uglier it looked. Orange fencing everywhere, blueprints flapping in the breeze, a porta-potty parked under an oak like it belonged there. Some young guy couldn't be a day over 23 barely looked up when I walked over. "You must be Mr. Dalton," he said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Then he hands me a laminated sheet. Lakeview Shores HOA development notice says they're breaking ground on New Haven Island Estates. Supposedly, I should have gotten a letter. Only problem was Lakeview Shores is on the mainland, and I never signed up for their HOA nonsense. Never even crossed my mind. This land's been mine since '83, I told him, showing him my old tax receipt. He just shrugs, points to his clipboard, tells me to take it up with them. That's when she showed up, Carla Minden. Crisp white pantsuit heels digging into my earth, looking at me like I was something she scraped off her shoe at the grocery store. She listens to my whole story about Ellen, about the deed in my safe, about how they're trespassing, and just nods all fake sympathy. "Mr. Dalton, the county records are quite clear." She tells me, "Frankly, you should be grateful we're improving the area." I swear I could feel the blood draining from my face. They were standing 10 yards from Ellen's willow, ready to bulldoze every trace of her. You'd think I'd lose it, right? But I just headed to the county clerk's office, waited 2 hours to talk to a guy who looked half asleep, watched him poke around the computer, then tell me, "Sorry, sir. The old registry files were misplaced during a data migration. According to the map, your parcel was merged with Lakeview Shores." Misplaced my foot. Gone. They showed me a computer screen, not the history of my life. I showed him the tax receipts, 40 years of paying property taxes. "It's an HOA matter now, sir," was all he could offer. I even tried the newspaper. Reporter took notes, said he'd call back, never did. The world didn't want my story. That night my island was blazing with floodlights, humming with generators, not a spot of dark or quiet left. Then I heard a new noise, pile driver pounding right where Ellen's ashes lay. That's when the rage shifted, no longer hot, but cold. I realized no one was coming to help me. Not the county, not the press, not even my neighbors. So I did what an old engineer knows best. You don't yell at a problem, you break it down. Next morning, I unlocked my workshop safe. Inside, under my Army medals and a photo of Ellen, was every scrap of paper that ever mattered: the original warranty deed from 1983, notary seal, an all hand-drawn survey map, a 40-year stack of tax receipts. Real, solid proof. For a minute, I let myself believe it would be enough. Then came the HOA's invitation, a community courtesy meeting at their beige clubhouse, all fake friendliness. Really, it was just a stage to call me crazy and dismiss my claim. 30 neighbors, none of them meeting my eye, just stirring their coffee. Carla droned on about synergy and modernization, painting a picture of island paradise. Didn't mention me once. When it was question time, I stood up, laid out my deed and 40 years of tax receipts. She didn't even look down. "Mr. Dalton, the county records are what matter," she said, all smiles. "Paperwork gets old, things get misplaced." She even joked about my Ellen sign on the footbridge, called it outdated, promised clean, standardized signage. Outdated. I stared at the faces around me. Nobody spoke up. Nobody cared. That's when the last urge to reason with them just snapped. I gathered my papers and left. Out by the new causeway, I saw where they'd run all their lines, power, water, everything right through a single strip of land, the only way onto the island. They thought they'd won waving fake permits and playing games in the carpeted clubhouse. But I saw their flaw. I just had to wait. I watched every day as the bones of those houses rose, frames stark against the sky, HOA banners at the entrance. Even Carla's grinning face on a billboard. But I was documenting photos of every contractor, every license plate, every step of the build, even drone shots from above. I filed my challenge with the county. They stalled, hoping I'd just die off before a hearing, and then a twist. Out of nowhere, a whisper of hope. A young intern from the records office called. She'd found the master plat survey from 1982 buried in a box destined for the shredder. It clearly showed my island parcel 7B as a separate holding, not part of the HOA. The county had never had the right to sell it. With my son Evan's help, we filed a motion. The HOA buried us in legal nonsense motions to dismiss discovery demands, affidavits, anything to drown me in paper and burn through my money. And while all this was happening, the real heartbreak hit one morning. I watched as they paved a parking lot right over Ellen's willow where her ashes were. I ran at them yelling, "That's sacred ground. That's where my wife is buried." They laughed at me, just kept paving. That night, the island glowed with lights from the first finished model home, a stranger city, not mine. I almost quit. My son begged me to let it go, sell the cabin, move to the city. But then the HOA fined me 18 grand for polluting the lake. They'd torn up every inch of my land and blamed me for the mess. That was it. No more doubt. They declared war and I wasn't going to lose. Saturday, grand opening day, ribbon-cutting news cameras. Carla basking in the glory. I parked far off and watched evidence in my old leather briefcase. I didn't need to show it yet. My lawyer had already filed a quiet title action in state court, a suit that had forced them to prove their claim, not just wave papers around. We'd also notified the Utilities Commission, alerting them to the illegal lines. I just needed to let them finish, let their mistake get big enough to see from space. Courtroom day. Carla walked in with her lawyers like she owned the place. Their attorney gave a fancy speech about official instruments and digital records. Then my lawyer Peterson just laid out my deed, the archived plat, the GPS survey we did with Ray, the old county surveyor who owed me a poker favor. We'd found under moonlight that their causeway, their power, their water, all ran through my legal right-of-way. The judge, sharp as a tack, saw the proof, saw their faces turn white. The county council rep admitted right there the parcel was never theirs to sell. Judge ruled for me, restored my title, ordered HOA to pay damages. Told every new homeowner they'd have to deal with me for access and utilities. You should have seen Carla's face pale as a ghost lawyer's in a huddle, her power gone in a single afternoon. Aftermath. The news ran the story. HOA collapse lawsuits from homeowners, the construction company, even the county. Turned out Carla and the treasurer had forged half the paperwork. She quit, got indicted, took a plea deal, reputation gone forever. And the people who'd bought those homes, they came to me expecting an eviction. Instead, I offered them all a fair lease lower than their HOA dues, no nonsense about mailbox colors. Just treat each other like neighbors. We used the court money and lease payments to fix things, ripped up the parking lot over Ellen's willow, planted a new tree, put up a plaque that read, "For Ellen." Justice served. That fall, we had a barbecue on the island, kids chasing fireflies. Dave the plumber flipping burgers, Mike the mechanic telling stories, neighbors laughing instead of measuring lawns. Evan, my son, stood by me, finally seeing the point. "How'd you have the patience?" he asked. I looked out at the houses, the new willow, the sunset over the lake. Sometimes I told him, "You just let them build their own gallows." So let me ask you, what's justice really? Is it a courtroom win? Or is it getting your life back after the world tries to erase you? Drop your thoughts down below. Tell me what you'd have done, or share your own battle with folks like this. And if you believe no one should ever be bullied off their land, hit that subscribe stick around, because sometimes the quietest people have the loudest revenge.